Oh, don't you dare look back, just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back.
Did you choose that?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure I did.
So
Well,
you're
I
new
can't
to
see
your
any of
job.
you. Yeah.
What made you move from being an analyst
Yeah.
for many years
Yep.
into this role? What did you see that made you do that?
First of all, I just want to say I feel a little bit like Madonna, which is awesome. The
Okay.
stage is crazy. So what made me get into this role and what made me join MediaMath specifically? Well, I love MediaMath. I've loved MediaMath for 8 years. When I met Eric Wasserman and Joe Zawadzki back in 2007, the vision that they laid out for me when I was working at Razorfish as a media supervisor, to me, it was the future of digital media buying. And I built the trading desk at Razorfish based on that vision. They were our first platform. And Joe would say it's been a slow burn since then. Yep.
Okay. So are we in this period of, because I think, with programmatic, there was so much like hype and then I think we're in that, what is it, like the trough of disappointment a little bit.
That is so horrible.
There's a lot of concerns about viewability, about ad fraud, about malware, about ad blocking. It seems like anything sort of bad recently in digital media is being pinned on programmatic.
Yeah, well, I would say that trough of disappointment is horrible. I'm going to start using that one. I really think that the problem is not programmatic, it's the way that people are using it. So when I think about programmatic as a concept, it is about automation of process, which is fine, and that's great. But for me, it's really about automation of decisioning driven by intelligent use of data. And when I think about what marketers want to do, they want to do a better job of connecting with their consumers wherever they are. That's not just a line. I really believe that, and I really think that that's what they're trying to do. But there's a lot of messiness in the ecosystem, I think, that's getting away because of some of the ways that people are using the technologies. I don't think the technologies themselves are the problem or programmatic is the problem. I think it's the application.
Okay, people are the problem.
People are always the problem.
Basically. Guns don't kill people. Sorry. So it seems like I was
People kill people.
Yeah, exactly. So I was following Luma Partners had their event over in San Francisco, and it seems like it's like now we were talking about ad tech, now we're talking about MarTech, and there seems to be this shift from ad tech to MarTech. Were you seeing this? Do you see this?
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, it's important to talk about the fact that they have meant very different things. The world of advertising is the world of paid media in a digital context that is anonymous, that has been cookie-based, that is display advertising, video and mobile and so on and so forth. Marketing and marketing technology has operated in the world of the known universe. It's operated on the side of the organization that thinks about customer relationship management. Things like campaign management and marketing automation systems, very sort of generic terms, mean very specific things to people on that side of the house. What you're really seeing is that this side of the house and this side of the house, the acquisition, the advertising world, and the world of CRM are starting to recognize that a human is a human, and that the relationship that they can have with Joanna O'Connell shouldn't exist over here and over here separately, and the technologies are starting to come together. So if you talk about marketing most broadly, it encompasses both of those things, but those worlds have been very different.
Okay, so what's the tangible impact of those two coming together? What will that change in the ecosystem?
Yeah, well, I mean, imagine a world where someone has an experience with a display ad, and then that actually influences what happens in an email that they open. That is a perfect example of interconnected experiences between the traditional world of marketing technology and the world of advertising technology. And that is starting to happen. You're starting to see this kind of interconnected web of technologies that are speaking to one another, that can share data with one another, that can influence one another's decisions, in real time, essentially. Yeah.
So what's the challenge to making that happen? I mean, it doesn't sound like it's actually a technology problem, but it's just to circle back, it's probably a people problem.
I think it's probably more a people problem. Yes, there are very real technological, I don't want to say hurdles, that's not exactly right, but it is complex, certainly, but that is not the ultimate obstacle. I think the ultimate obstacle is getting people to change the way that they behave. Getting organizations to think about the fact that a consumer is a consumer rather than a display ad budget and an email program.
So how does how does that get done? I mean, how as technology platform do you drive sort of change management within these vast organizations?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is just continuing to educate people. You know, I have been talking about this for a while, and I'm still talking about it because I really believe it. When we use the word programmatic, we're talking about something that can and should be so much bigger than what it has been, and it kind of is today. You know, again, it's automation of process and decision driven by data. That can be applied at such a higher level. So I like to talk about programmatic marketing, where all of these systems are talking to one another, where there is a core of user data, where decisioning is happening in real time, data is being shared that influences those decisions. So if the future is one of programmatic marketing, and you can explain that to a CMO is going, yeah, that's the thing that I want.
Yeah.
So there's, you know, at that high level, you need to be telling that story. This is the thing that you want, CMO. You want to have that relationship with the consumer. And by the way, that necessitates that these technologies talk to each other, but more importantly, that your organization rallies around that, right? But then, you know, on the operating level, you just have people starting to experiment with these things, starting to run programs where the CRM data is being used in display. Fine, fair enough. But then imagine that the CRM data that's being used in display then influences email. So it's kind of happening in the middle, where savvy people are experimenting, you know, inside of big brands, and I think higher up where people are starting to understand that that vision is the right vision.
Yeah. Is programmatic as a term the problem, or how it's being applied?
Oh God, I hope not, because I like it.
You like it?
I do, yeah.
Well, you succinctly describe it in like, you know, you're able to describe it in a tweet-sized form.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like a lot of people are using it in very different ways. Some people are using it to you know, just replacing a fax or an IO, and some people are using it in a much different form.
Yeah.
And last week in Rome, when we had a programmatic summit, we had a guy from Unilever there, and he was complaining about programmatic being a line item on media buys.
That's the whole problem.
And he suggested that anyone who puts programmatic as a line item on media buys should be shot, but that's pretty
guns
extreme.
don't kill people.
I know, we're getting back to this.
Unilever. No.
Unilever.
People.
Unilever.
No, listen, I applaud him for saying that. It's a little, I mean, it's maybe a little harsh, but I applaud the sentiment, which is to say, if it's just being treated as a line item on a media plan, the point is being missed. You know, it is a completely different way of buying media, and then ultimately a different way of behaving as marketers. So if you have it as a line item on a plan, you are inherently kind of undervaluing all of the things that are enabled through technologically driven, data-driven buying and optimization.
Yeah. Okay. Want to open it up to questions?
I can't see any of you.
Neither can I, so we'll see.
Oh, but I see someone I know. Hi, hon.
Hello.
Madonna, that's right. I know. I have like the ear thing. Does anyone have a question? Come on.
Come on.
There's one somewhere. Yes,
one
in the back, waving.
Hi. What would you recommend for sites that are struggling with piggybacking pixels that just add load to the site? I think that's a common problem for a lot of publishers, and I just have not found a solution that manages that.
Boy, that's a very specific technical question. That's really what you want to ask me? Can we talk about it after?
Okay.
This person. Don't ask me about pixels. They matter. They're important.
Thanks. So in the world that you're describing, where ad tech and martech are coming together, it seems like a marketer, or at least a savvy marketer, needs to own holistically the marketing experience from the beginning of the life cycle all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Where do agencies long-term fall into that? Because it seems like in that worldview, good marketers or savvy marketers would bring all that in-house.
Not necessarily. I don't think that's true. And by the way, I'm not just saying this 1 month into this new job. I've been saying this for a long time, which is to say the marketer needs to think about that experience with that person. And that means, I think, ownership of the data as the most proprietary and valuable asset that marketer has for long-term competitive advantage. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the marketer has to own execution in all of those different ways in which they can touch a consumer. And so I have very mixed feelings about the whole in-house thing, and it means lots of different things, and I could talk about that for an hour. But I think what agencies really need to do is they just need to get much better at this stuff much faster. And another thing I could talk about for an hour. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for agencies to step up as partners to marketers rather than sort of getting trapped in the just execution in one channel realm or getting left behind because it's being outsourced to somebody else.
Okay.
Sure.
Anyone else? I have just one final one before we
Yeah.
wrap up. If back here next year, what are we talking about then that we're not talking about now?
I'm hoping that we have lots of real-life case studies from marketers on how they are actually bringing this stuff that I'm talking about to life. This feels like the year where we're talking about it. I think next year you're going to see more live examples of display and email and on-site working together.
Right.
And we're going to have to move beyond what still feels maybe a bit theoretical for a lot of people.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank
Joanna.
you. Thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
it. Thank you. Okay.